Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we are taking a first look at the new destroyer line. Sorry if my voice is a little bit hoarse, I'm slightly under the weather this weekend. Yeah, the new Italian destroyer line. And we're getting a lot new tech tree lines these days. So it's a full line coming out, and there's currently a preview going on, but we will have a quick look across the line. I don't think you can actually see it in the tech tree yet. This is a question I get relatively frequently. Where is it? Well, it's not in the tech tree yet because it's not officially released. I just have the ships here for testing purposes and on all these kind of things. But you're gonna have to usually wait 2 months or so after the Blitz pass and the events go out, and then the line gets officially released. Anyway, let's take a first look at this new line and see what these ships are all about. So there are a couple of things that are specific about these ships, but let's go through them first. I'm going to try and pronounce them correctly. We're starting out at tier 2 with the Curatone. And the first thing that really stands out here immediately is that this tier 2 gets a ship skill. That is very unusually. I don't think we normally start seeing ship skills until, what's it, tier 4 or 5 or so. But we're starting to get the emergency engine accelerator. This is the thing that was announced in the last update in the patch notes. So it's basically a really strong but very short duration engine boost. So this thing has an acceleration of 20% increase for 12 seconds. So she gets 2 charges of that thing. And what else is interesting? The other thing that you would probably have been expecting about Italian destroyers is they get semi-armor piercing shells. So you get HE and SAP versus HE and AP that you normally get on other destroyers. So that's also interesting. The other thing that you can already start seeing here is that the guns have an extremely short range. So these guns fire reasonably quickly, but their range is very short. The torpedoes, on the other hand, have a very long range. So we've got long-range torpedoes and short-range guns. And the line is very, very uniform in that regard. So at tier 3, we get the Nazario Sauro. And here we already start seeing the second ship skill at tier 3, which again is very, very unusual. So now we've got 3 of the emergency engine boosts and 2 of the new exhaust fuel smokes. And this is effectively a fuel smoke, but a really super short duration. So short duration, but short cooldown as well. So this one runs for 6 seconds and has a cooldown of 40 seconds. And you can, as is typical with fuel smokes, take it with you. And from here on, it's pretty uniform. So we've still got the 120mm guns, short-range guns. We've got long-range, relatively quickly reloading torpedoes, and the concealment is decent. Then we've got the Turbine at tier 4, and it's the same story. We've got short-range guns. I mean, obviously these aren't upgraded. I'm looking at the stock values here, but long-range torpedoes. And we've got the Maestrale at tier 5. And same story, 120mm, short-range guns, long-range torpedoes. You see where this is going, right? So this is a very, very linear progression so far through the tree. I haven't tested these ships yet, but just from the stats. And we could just get an increasing number of these ship skills going on here. Tier 6, we've got the Aviere with, you guessed it, 120mm guns, short range. And this is actually upgraded. So yes, the 6.45 kilometers is literally the range of these main guns. But 8.7 kilometer range torpedoes with a 40-second reload, but you only get 2 triple launches of it. And a decent surface detection. Then at tier 7, we've got the Luca Tarigo. And this is the tier 6 was the Soldati class. These were quite... we got into the individual history of these ships when I'm going to do the actual review. But... and these were still interwar designs, and I'm not sure what this would be. A Navigatore class, would technically be earlier, I believe, but I'm going to have to look into the details there. And then at tier 8 we get the Vittorio Cuniberti with the same setup. So all the way up to tier 8 we get, and they actually become reasonably quickly. So the Aviere already has a pretty good speed. I think the Turbine was, up to tier 4 they're pretty slow. But starting at tier 5, they're actually really, really fast, and similar to their French counterparts in some regards. So we've got 6 in tier 8, we've still got 620 mils, and the long-range torpedoes, 2 quad launchers. Then at tier 9 with the Adriatico, that's where things change up a little bit, because this is a scout cruiser. Still very fast, but obviously a much, much bigger ship. And we're upgunning to 135 millimeter. And still 2 quad launchers of torpedoes with a very, very good range. And then at tier 10, the Attilio Regolo is effectively just the upgraded version of that with 8 guns. So it's a lot of Elbing, Khabarovsk feel, just the guns have a very short range. And we've still got the long-range torpedoes. So all in all, a pretty linear progression. If we look at the ship skills all the way up the top, the Regolo actually gets the rapid reload, and you get 6 of the engine accelerators and 5 of the fuel smoke things. And I think the Regolo was the only, no, actually the Adriatico as well gets the rapid reload, but I think the Cuniberti did not. Yeah, so tier 9 and 10 are slightly different. So you've kind of got tier 2 to tier 4, with these really tiny but relatively slow destroyers, then tier 5 till tier 8. Starting the much faster, kind of normal destroyer size things. And then tier 9 and 10 are the kind of scout cruiser things. So let's look at a couple of stats for the Aviere, because that's the only one I've tested so far, and you'll get some gameplay in a minute. But there are a couple of interesting things to note here. So first of all, let's compare her to we don't actually need the Leone. Let's look at the Aviere and the Icarus, because the Icarus also has 120 millimeter guns, but it's a British destroyer. And the Icarus also gets 4 of the fuel smokes. The Aviere gets 3, but in return she gets the engine boosts. And if we're looking at the guns, they are pretty similar on the HE, obviously not on the range, because very short range guns. But the semi-armor piercing does a lot more damage, as we're used to. So small caliber semi-armor piercing tends to do a lot more damage than the small caliber high explosive. And the large calibers, we don't see it quite as much. But that is somewhat interesting. And if you compare the torpedoes, now given the Icarus's torpedoes do a little bit more damage, but they also have a 60-second reload, whereas the Avieres only have a 40-second reload and a better range on them. Don't look at the AA. There's really nothing to see here. The other thing that was interesting to see is how the Aviere compares to the Ernst Gede, because you're used to German destroyers having very, very good armor piercing on these guns, and they're generally 128 millimeters. So if we compare the Aviere's 120s to the Gede's 128s, you see that they're doing the same amount of alpha damage in terms of AP. Now, the Aviere's semi-armor piercing is not going to have the same penetration as the German armor piercing here, obviously. So using it against even against things like carriers is probably not going to do an awful lot. But against other destroyers who don't have armor, this doesn't matter. So this is where it gets really, really interesting, because this means that these little ships here are actually having almost German capabilities against other destroyers in terms of gun output if you get into a close range fight. And let's be honest, at long ranges you're not going to be hitting destroyers anyway. You've got the speed and you've got the sort of capabilities to do it. So in terms of playstyle, again, I can't really make any blanket statements because I've only tested the Aviere so far, and it really depends on the tier. But these two ship skills sort of lend themselves to a relatively aggressive playstyle. You could be tricked into thinking, okay, they're stealth torpedo destroyers. you're just going to, use the fast reload and the long range torpedoes. And I'm sure you can, and this might be a viable thing in higher tiers, but in mid tier, you can use the ship skills for aggressive purposes and literally run circles around your targets with these things, because she gets proper quick. So let's have a little bit of a look at the setup. In tier 6, you still get the destroyer modernization. I think in higher tiers, it's either better guns or better torpedoes. So I could get speed, hit points, and torpedo tube traverse. The speed was kind of interesting here. You could also get the main battery reload and the main battery traverse. It's also a good choice. Despite their extremely short gun range, I think these ships are going to be pretty good in terms of dealing with enemy destroyers in close encounters, for example, during an early cap rush. And then you may be able to use the torpedoes to harass larger targets going forward. And if opportunities arise, you can use things like the fuel smoke and the speed boost to get up close. So equipment-wise, I'm using main battery mod 1 here, but other than that, it's a typical destroyer setup. Propulsion mod, because if you're playing aggressively, having acceleration is kind of even more important than having rudder shift, as long as the rudder shift is manageable. And concealment is a no-brainer as well, just because your guns are having such a short range that you really want to surprise enemies as much as possible, especially enemy destroyers. Now, one thing that people have been asking me in the comments already, before the video even came out, is how about the two skills here, the fuel smoke and the emergency engine accelerator? Are the captain skills going to be effective for these two? So let's have a quick look at the stats again. So this is a 40-second cooldown and a 12-second duration, and this is a 40-second cooldown and a 6-second duration. So if we're looking at the commander here, there are two skills that are sort of critical for that. One of them is the Mistweaver, which increases the duration, but because you only have, 6 seconds of smoke anyway, this isn't going to do anything in terms of duration. What it is going to do, however, is it's going to give you a 1/3 reduction of the cooldown. So instead of 40 seconds, you're going to see a lot less. And it's the same story with the engine overload, although here you get a plus 25% accelerator duration, which means we should be seeing still not an awful lot more. It's like a second or two more, but this is actually even better. And again, it's the cooldown, because once again, if you're looking at the higher tiers, you see how many of these skills you get, right? You get 6 engine boosts and 4 smokes. You want to be able to just be using these engine boosts frequently, because you've just got so many of them. There's no reason of saving them up. So let's test this quickly. And I'm just going to go into a training room and demonstrate, because we've got 40-second base cooldown on both of them. So let's take the ship quickly out into the training room, and then we can. I think I did test that. I just want to make certain that it works correctly before I make any statements here. So let's try this out quickly, and we're just going to sail ahead and then test both cooldowns, because if it affects the cooldowns, that's really the most important part, right? So let's get up to full speed, and then we're going to use the 40.7 knots, and we're going to use the overload. It's running for about 12 seconds, so not actually any extension, I believe. There we go. But we've got 27-second cooldown. So it looks like, was it 12 seconds? It looks like that hasn't changed. Now we use the smoke, and that runs for under 6 seconds, or 6 seconds roundaboutish. And also we have a slower cooldown. So if we're going to go out from the battle then and have a quick look at the, 27 seconds or so, that sounds about right for the reduction. This is interesting though. So the captain skill appears to be only applicable to the cooldown and not to the actual duration of the skill. That sounds like a bug to me, because it should be applicable to both. So I would have expected 15 seconds here instead of 12. So I'm going to report that one. But it's still viable, even if it doesn't extend the duration of this of the engine boost, because it does. It just makes it available more quickly, and you just want to, if you're playing this aggressively, you just want to keep using it. All right, what else do we have to look at? Camouflage. What are the historical camos doing? You get mine battery firing range, which is really, really needed on these ships. You got torpedo range, traverse, and surface detection. So all good stuff here. And I don't think that's this. There's also this the hot air camo that comes in a bundle, I believe, that you can buy. But if you look at the difference between this one and the historical, the only difference is that the hot air camo gives you torpedo speed, whereas the other one gives you torpedo range. Torpedo speed, honestly, the range is good as is, but I would say it doesn't make an awful lot of difference because it's 4%. So I think they're fine either way. Very colorful camouflages. They look very, they look more. They don't look particularly at home on the ocean, but more against the background probably. All right. I think that's pretty much what I was going to say. So let's summarize that. Starting tier 5, fast destroyers, a German level of firepower against other destroyers, but close range only. Long range torpedoes, fast reload on those, and lots and lots of consumables all the way through the line, starting at tier 2, that allow you to, make use of situations when they arise. So let's have a look at some gameplay. In the first battle, we're playing on Silent Shoal, and it's a tier 7 game. So with Carrier, Ranger, West Virginia, Fuso, New Mexico, Miyoko, Icarus, and Hatsuharu. This was one of the earlier games I was playing during testing, but I left it in because it shows some nice details on especially the gun performance and the SAP. So, what are we doing? Well, given that we have a carrier, the scouting should not necessarily be an issue. But like I said earlier, the long-range torpedoes actually allow you that in situations where you cannot just rush in and get it up close and personal, you can stay undetected as much as possible and try to torpedo people from range. Now, they are not the fastest torpedoes in the world, but they do reload reasonably quickly, and you can, so you don't have to be necessarily afraid of using them, but you can go ahead and spam them out with a bit more liberty. Now, I'm trying to avoid the fighter scout, not quite managing it, so enemy fighters got pulled, but that means obviously, unfortunately, I'm detected. So we know that there's a destroyer, a cruiser, and one battleship over there. And as soon as I can manage to get out of range of those fighters, I should be able to go undetected again. And it's the Hatsuharu. Okay, the Hatsuharu, even though she is in the gunboat line, is not technically a gunboat. It's actually and yeah, that was a good blind shot from the New Mexico. Some torpedoes in the general direction of the Miyoko. And then I'm just going to stay undetected, because one thing that you have to be aware of with these torpedoes is that you don't have, they reload fast, but you don't have the Alpha Strike to take out something like a full health New Mexico. That doesn't mean you can't rush them, but not with a Miyoko and a Hatsuharu out there, and the New Mexico itself as well. So I'm just going to stay undetected. The carrier is busy elsewhere. And just going to observe and see what that New Mexico is doing. So I'm playing a little bit more of a torpedo boat right now, but I can change that if I need to. And I'm also extremely alone on this flank. No one else has been coming along. Everybody is lemming training in the center. So just not a bad defensive position with the carrier around, I guess. But New Mexico doesn't seem to be wanting to come out. Are you coming out or are you not coming out? He's accelerating. I don't think he has got anything to shoot at behind that rock that he's sitting there, but... no, he's not. He can't make up his mind. Okay, let's get a little bit closer and see if we can respawn. Up there's the Hatsuharu. Never mind. So he's in gun range though. So I'm gonna get the guns out, fuel smoke out, so he doesn't get a torpedo lock on, and the emergency engine boost up. So I'm accelerating out of that drop. That wasn't a bad blind drop, but now he's in trouble because he is already relatively low on hit points. And I'm just going to drop some torpedoes in the direction of that Miyoko, just in case he's coming around. and then I'll get back to shooting the Hatsuharu. Like I mentioned, these might just be 120mm guns, but the semi-armor piercing is doing German levels of damage to destroyers. So if you're in a destroyer, be very, very careful, because they can do this to you. Alright, Miyoko has dodged the torpedoes. And I don't know if intentionally or by accident, but because he's coming under fire from something else. So I'm going to stop shooting now and wait for my detection range to go back. I think the SAP and the HE are exchanged in their positioning. That's why you see me struggling a little bit in finding the right ammunition type if I want to switch to the HE. Let's drop the New Mexico. Hasn't spotted me, so now I'm spotted. Is he paying attention? I don't know. I'm going to use the smoke just to turn around and then shoot at the Miyoko to misdirect him. But no. Who told you that you're allowed to dodge? This is mid-tier. Why are you paying attention? Okay, and the Miyoko has spotted me as well. One thing that you need to be aware of is that these are extremely squishy destroyers. So you do need to be careful with being shot at. Now, against something like battleships, you would say, let's say a German destroyer at this range, I would have used the armor piercing into the bow section. The semi-armor piercing isn't quite strong enough to make that happen, so I'm just trying to set a fire. But New Mexico has found something better to shoot at, and the other destroyer has joined me here. We've already lost 2 ships, so we're going to need to make something happen here. The only thing I've killed the only thing on the enemy team is that Hatsuharu that I've killed. So a couple more shots out at New Mexico, and he is now running into some torpedoes. I'm not sure what that was on our team, but there's also the Fuso. So let's run around a little bit and do some damage where we can. 2 torpedo hits, bit disappointing, but we're only 15 seconds away from the reload. So we'll be able to do that again in no time. And there comes the Fuso, and he isn't looking in my direction. As long as I keep the island between myself and him. Unfortunately, now I'm spotted, but it's mid-tier. I don't put too much of a bank that people are actually paying attention. So torpedoes out against the Fuso is accelerating, and then we'll focus back on the New Mexico. And yeah, the other destroyer is with me here as well. So he should be together. We should be able to do some things about these 2 battleships here. It's a bunch of torpedo impacts, and it looks like no, I'm just getting the assist. So the Fubuki, that's a Fubuki. Okay, the Fubuki has taken out the Fuso. Cool. Now we can run at the New Mexico. Shout very loud. Ah! And do a torpedo run, because I have a Fubuki behind me who's probably gonna be able to do some torpedo things as well. Okay. What I'm going to try and do is, because his guns are not pointing at me, so I'm going to try to just rush him, outrun his turret traverse, use the smoke. Be aware that the smoke is extremely short duration, so you need to be careful not to, you see it's already dissipated, need to be careful not to use it too early. And he is turning, so two salvos out, and the game completely bugs out on me, and I only get 2 torpedo hits. I feel cheated. There's a carrier coming, so I do have to watch out about that, but the New Mexico is now out positioned, and he's now focusing on me, trying to, yeah, carrier's dropped me, but hasn't activated, and he's focusing on me, which means he's totally missing all these Fubuki torpedoes over there. You're welcome, Mr. Fubuki, and I still feel vaguely cheated, but that's an ex-New Mexico. Good job there, and that just leaves the Ranger over here. Now, against the carrier, I would have used, normally, armor piercing. So I'm going to give it a try with a semi-armor piercing, just have to watch out, because I am already running relatively low on hit points, just to watch out with things, but let's give the semi-armor piercing a spin. The Ranger is backing up behind the island, so I can't launch the torpedoes just yet, and he's probably also in a turn. Yeah, he's in a turn, I think. So even at point blank, the semi-armor piercing isn't doing anything. We only get semi-pens out of it, we don't get any full penetrations. So you'd probably be better off using the high explosive. Nice torpedo drop, but no chance of those hitting. Unfortunately, I'm now running out of time, so we'll see if I can still get some torpedoes on target in the short time that's remaining. And 1 second, we still got 2 hits counted. The other hits went in, but they didn't count anymore. So once again, I've been cheated. But this is the sort of gameplay that I feel this destroyer is good at. It's a mixed role, and between a stealth DD, a stealth torp DD, and an aggressive rushing dogfighting other destroyers. And I've done almost as much damage with the guns as I have done with the torpedoes. So let's do that one more time. In the second battle, we're top tier. New Mexico, Iron Duke you can be careful with. Alba, Gnevny, Hatsuharu, Gede, and the Black Kamikaze. Oh dear. Lots of enemy destroyers, and especially the Gede and the Gnevny are things that I would be careful with, because these are pretty good gunboats, and I'm not a particularly sturdy destroyer. But what I am is extremely fast with lots of consumables. So Aurora it is, no carrier this time. You know already which direction I'm going to go, right? Okay, I'm spawning on the left flank, so semi-armor piercing is correct, because I have 4 destroyers in the enemy team, that's what I'm going to use. 40 knots, with the engine boost up, 48 knots, but only for a couple of seconds. So it's not a particularly long engine boost, but we can totally, we've got 4 of them. You can totally start using one at the onset and just give yourself a bit of a speed boost to get off the ground there. So let's see which of the enemy destroyer, how many of the enemy destroyers are coming around this area here. There's going to be at least 1 or 2, right? So let's get into the thick and have some fun. Nothing spotted so far. The gun range is atrocious, but if you're playing close up, it doesn't matter. Still nothing. Was I wrong? No, there's the Gede. Okay, that thing I can outspot. Hello, Mr. Gede. Let's drop some... No. Oh, it's 2 of them. It's the Gede and the Kamikaze. Okay. That means I need to turn away. Smoke on. Torpedoes out. Engine boost up to dodge any torpedoes. And the Alba. Okay. Gede is going elsewhere. Kamikaze is coming for me. Okay. That's a knife fight with the Kamikaze. Let's dodge the Gede. These are Gede torps, I think. Maybe. Or Kamikaze torps. Okay, hard left, and is he dry? Yeah, nope, that's not happening. There comes the Alba with the armor piercing. That was an X-Ernst Gede. And the Kamikaze is coming around the side. Now I could just shoot up the Kamikaze, but I want to torpedo that thing, because you want to always add insult to injury. So smoke up, Kamikaze is slowing down, turning in, and is accelerating again out of the smoke. Have some torpedoes. There you go. Goodbye. Alright, high explosive battleship time. New Mexico, Iron Duke. Like I said, Iron Duke, gotta be a little bit careful, but the rest of my team is already lemming trained. Well, not actually lemming trained, because I've got 2 destroyers with me here, but it has already made their way around the other side. So now I can go undetected and drop some torpedoes on things. That Alba there is deciding that it's a good today is a good day to die, and he's going for the torpedo rush maybe. It's not gonna happen. Okay, I got a little bit close to the New Mexico, so let's drop the Iron Duke, and then the New Mexico is already flooding. So let's see if we can set him on fire. Maybe it's a perma. No, the New Mexico is actually not an idiot. He has been waiting. So, and firing high explosive. Oh dear. I gotta be careful with this guy. Anyway, torpedoes against the Iron Duke are looking good. And yeah, I'm already out of gun range because I only have a 6.4 kilometer range. So, where's the fun in... I mean, the whole enemy team is boxed into their capture circle, so it's once again time to shout very loud, go ah, and rush these guys. There's a Gnevny out there, but I think the Gnevny has other problems. So New Mexico has the right ammunition loaded against destroyers. So we're just waiting until he fires his guns. Come on, give me another shot. Engine up, 48 knots. There she goes. And that wasn't a bad blind shot, but not enough. And you have some torpedoes. Should probably not be enough to sink the New Mexico, but no, this is fine. He's flooding. He's gonna burn to death. And it's the Iron Duke. Okay, New Mexico's dead. Iron Duke's there. He can obviously one-shot me if he pays any attention. But I'm not the only destroyer out here, and the Iron Duke has other problems, and has decided that I'm not one of them, and is dodging all that zoop of torpedoes. So now I'm almost reloaded. Come on, give me a second here. Alright, slowing down. Nah, it's okay. I can do this. Oh, there's another destroyer. I'll deal with you momentarily. I just have an Iron Duke to torpedo. Okay, torpedoes out against the Iron Duke, trying to switch over to the SAP. Once again, the darn thing is the wrong way around. And there's the Hatsuharu. So just reverse out, and I'm still firing high explosive. Yes, I'm still trying to switch over to the semi-armor piercing, but you know how it is with muscle memory in the heat of battle. Yeah, nah, these torpedoes aren't working. Second spread, nope, that's not where I'm going, and he's now having too many destroyers to look at and to dodge, and good fight here. And finally, I'm managing to set her up for the semi-armor piercing. Is he gonna run into those torpedoes? No. I mean, brave fight from the Hatsuharu, but the semi-armor piercing is making extremely short work of this thing, and that just leaves us to finish capping. And then we can see if we can still get a couple shots on the rest of the team. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for the cap to flip, you see what I'm talking about, right? In mid-tiers, this is a absolutely glorious ship. If you have the situational awareness of, you know, kind of paying attention to where you should and shouldn't be, and you've got an enemy team that is accommodating in, you know, letting you get away with things. You can just make use of the speed boost and that short duration smoke, but just be but just generally be zipping around areas where you're not expected to, and just varying everything. So this is a glorious close range fighter. So I mean, I wouldn't take on a Gnevny on 2,000 hit points, but he's got other things to shoot at, maybe, hopefully. Yeah, you do need to use the guns. You do need to use the guns from close range, because obviously you don't have the range to do anything else. But if you get into these kind of situations, it's absolutely glorious. And yeah, he's shooting at me, obviously. And the torpedoes, while they are long range, and you don't get an awful lot of them, they also reload very quickly. So if you drop some torpedoes on something and then start a run against it using the speed boost, then by the time you get there, your torpedoes are already reloaded. So it's all around awesome, and it's a great ship. For its tier, it's an absolutely great ship. So I'll have to do a lot more testing with the higher tiers and see how that holds up, because obviously you can't keep getting away with this kind of nonsense if you're not if you are not in tier 6. So we'll see how tier 8, 9, and 10 are holding up, but at least this one. This one's a keeper. That's a really, really fun ship. It's sort of the YOLO boat that I was hoping the Emilio was going to be. And I mean, the Emilio is just in a much, much higher tier, and you can't get away with this kind of nonsense in higher tiers that easily. But yeah, in tier 6, you can accidentally the enemy team if you're getting allowed to do it. Yeah, more tests incoming once I have some time next week. And that's it for today. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.